Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission has affirmed that the status quo remains with respect to the ExxonMobil Seplat Energy share acquisition. Clarification by the NUPRC Chief Executive, Mr. Gbenga Komolafe, followed an earlier statement that President Muhammadu Buhari had approved the acquisition, which effectively nullified the long-drawn attempts by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to block the $1.2 billion share acquisition between the companies. So there's the State House press release. President Buhari consents to acquisition of ExxonMobil shares by Seplat Energy Offshore Limited. Let's take a look at a second tweet. This was sent yesterday and had major headlines everywhere. So in his capacity as Minister of Petroleum Resources and in consonance with the country's drive for foreign direct investment in the energy sector, President Buhari has consented to the acquisition of the entire share capital of Mobil Producing Nigeria Unlimited by Seplat Energy. Now, let's take a look at the Gbenga Komolafe, the head of the NUPRC, who spoke exclusively to Arise Newsnight. Let's listen to his comments.
The Commission works on the basis of clear provisions of the law and not on the basis of news that makes the round. And I said that the Commission had earlier transmitted the position of the law as approved by the Minister, who happens to be the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And as it stands, that position subsists, to the best of my knowledge. And as far as the Commission is concerned, nothing has changed. So the decline still subsists. And that is what is in alignment with the position of the law. And the Commission is the sole authority in that respect, in line with the provisions of the PI under Section 95, subsection 10, subsection 14, and 15. So the position stands. So we are not, as a Commission, working on the basis of news that makes the round. We work strictly on the basis of the position of the law.
Joining us to discuss further, Mustapha Wahab is an oil and gas analyst with Chapel Hill Denham. Mustapha, we've been talking since last night about this matter. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of all this, Mustapha? There's so much to get into here.
So in my mind, I think there's a lot of things going on. It could be lack of understanding of the law. It could be power play. It could be both, right? But I think for us to get it better, I think Section 95 of that PIA actually does a lot of justice to sort of understanding, what is going on. And what that section says is that, it does a lot of, explanation regarding acquisition and merger in the oil and gas, industry. And what it says is that a holder of, petroleum exploration, license or mining license, cannot transfer their interest to another party without a prior written consent of the minister. And then it says somewhere else in another subsection that without the prior written consent of the commission, that's the NUPRC. So, it's becoming unclear at that level. So if you go further a little bit down, what you see is a clearer picture. And what the picture was saying, what the act was saying was that, look, the consent of the minister, shall be granted based on the recommendation of the commission. So what it means is that, the minister actually has ultimate power regarding, who takes what assets, but it was obviously going to be, based on the recommendation of the commission. And to get it further clear, so the act also says that the communication regarding whether a proposal is rejected or is accepted must be written by the commission to the applicant. Right. So why I said this power play is that the NUPRC had already made it clear to Seplat that, look, we are not going to allow this deal to go through, and they've communicated to them in writing. Right. So how Seplat went ahead of NUPRC directly to the president, and the president now announcing to Seplat is what I don't know. And the CEO of NUPRC also made it clear that, look, we've said what we want to say to Seplat. Beyond all the tweets that you see, we are the guys that is supposed to communicate to Seplat what is going on. And if it is otherwise, we'll be the one that will communicate to them. So it's either some people don't get what is going on, some people don't know how the routes where they're supposed to pass, or maybe it's just a power play.
The part about this, a lot has been said about communication. Whoever sent out that tweet, could they not, understanding the law, have checked with the NUPRC and say, hey, listen, we're about to send out that approve this thing. Should we? That's what it gets.
Both parties should be blamed, actually. First off is that the guy that sent that tweet probably did not understand what is going on, that he should have communicated via NUPRC.
Yeah.
And perhaps Seplat as well. I mean, they sent us...
a press release.
They sent a press release
after it was...
a lot of people saw. And I don't know. That press release, I don't know where they got it from. And in my own mind, I think they should have checked with the commission first before they put it out. So, I mean, there's a lot of blame that should go around here.
All right, Mustapha, you're an oil and gas analyst. You're not a lawyer, right? So maybe everybody that discusses this will have an oil and gas analyst and a lawyer side by side. The issue of what is being the share acquisition now, there's the issue of the company, and there's the fact that the company now houses assets. So there's whether this could have been a Corporate Affairs Commission matter, CAC, or the fact that the joint venture agreement between NNPC. So how, and it's in court, so we don't want to litigate anything in TV. But so what do you make of that murky part?
Yeah, so it's not really murky.
Okay.
If FGN would explain what is going on, I mean, the NUPRC from the onset, they said they are rejecting this acquisition because of national interest. They never explain what the national interest is. And when Seplat wants to explain, Seplat will say that, look, we are not taking over assets. What we're taking over is a company. Okay. Right? And NNPC should not have any right of first refusal on those sort of transactions, because what is just changing is the name of the operator, not the operator itself. Yeah? Right. So upon receiving of the cash flows, so instead of the cash flows to go to MPNU, it will now come to Seplat, right? So Seplat would explain that, look, this is a company transaction, not an asset transfer. So because of that, NNPC has no right to refuse, the transaction. But if NNPC will say anything, they will say that, look, we have the right to do so, and it's a matter of national interest.
Okay, but what are the fact that the assets are part of the company, are they not? So that's where the interest and the right of first refusal comes. So can you separate the share ownership of the company from the assets that the company houses? That is where, so that's why this gets...
It's really, really complicated. Again, like you said, the best people that can give us the better explanation is probably the lawyers and perhaps the courts. Fine. But I also think that what is going on, I mean, especially from the explanation of ExxonMobil, is that they are divesting from assets that they don't consider core of their operation. Right. And it's just not just assets. We want to sell a company, and we saw a buyer that is willing and capable of taking over those assets. So if you look at it from that perspective, then by now, I mean, the story of NNPC, I mean, Seplat acquiring, Mobil should have been history. Should
have been gone by now because, let's put up those tweets again, because there's some things we highlighted. I just want to ask you about what this means as far as the wider, so look at that, in consonance with the country's drive for foreign direct investment in the energy sector. Let's look at the second tweet. I think we highlighted something else there. At the bottom, considering the extensive benefits of the transaction to the Nigerian energy sector and the larger economy. So look, putting aside all the legal matters and what's being discussed, what do you think, because we've been on this matter for 6 months now, this deal was announced back in February. As what it would mean for the energy sector, foreign direct investment, other companies looking at what's going on. Does this cause problems?
I know the first thing that you would probably want to think about is that it's negative for the ecosystem. But whilst we are clamoring for foreign direct investment to come into the Nigerian market, we should also be wary of the fact that things has to be done properly. Right. We should not forget that. This is not the first time we're seeing a transaction of this magnitude. They got
Seplat got Shell assets, right? Back in 2009, 2010.
They did. Seplat also got Inland in 2019. Tony Elumelu's AS Holding got OML 17 from Shell, Eni, and Total. And again, what is going on right now between Seplat and NNPC, or Seplat and ExxonMobil, is also probably one of the same story between Chevron and Cornell with respect to OML 86, right? I think if you do it the right way, you push the right button, I think you should be able to get transactions done, in the country. The fact that we want people to come into the Nigerian market does not mean that they should not do it properly. I mean, if I take it to another sector, there was a time MTN was having issue with the federal government, and a lot of people were saying that FGN is not treating them right. They're putting a lot of taxes, imposition on them. But now they've settled the case. MTN is fine, FGN is fine. They've found a middle ground to operate, and everybody's happy, right? I think if Seplat can do same, find a way to do what you're supposed to do. ExxonMobil, you want to exit Nigeria, do it properly. And then from there, we'll probably be, we won't be worried about whether or not investment is coming to the country.
Okay, you're not in the courtrooms where this is going on. If this drags out for too much longer, because I would imagine that maybe Seplat will have to withdraw their case and now do things the right way. Do you think this, with this blow up now, with this being talked about everywhere, it's the big news in the oil and gas sector and everything, do you think this can be resolved quickly? Can you know? Because again, we've been on this for 6 months and it could possibly drag out longer. Are you hopeful or optimistic that this can?
I am hopeful. I mean, we discussed it in-house in Chapel Hill. I also put out a report which a lot of investors are already calling us in-house that look, you guys need to take away ExxonMobil's valuation from Seplat, right? Because I mean, if you check the valuation breakdown, most of what the market is pricing Seplat right now is actually coming from that's ExxonMobil. Right. So if you yank it off, Seplat will probably be a sell at the time.
That's the stock. So see that's another implication of this.
That's the problem. But right now, what I typically tell people is that until we see a lot of reasons for us to do so, or management communicates otherwise that they are no longer interested in the assets, we won't take it out.
Okay.
Market is still pricing Seplat, as if it's a new company, a bigger company, which is a combination of former Seplat and ExxonMobil.
Right.
Hence the reason why we have a buy recommendation on the company.
Oh, you still have a buy recommendation?
Yeah, up to 30%.
Well, that's optimistic. That's optimistic. Mustapha Wahab, look, it's always a pleasure having you to come and break down all these matters in the oil and gas sector. Mustapha Wahab, oil and gas analyst, Chapel Hill Denham, who still have a buy on Seplat stock. Thank you so much for joining us.